We are live, I guess, and you can hear me. I'd like to welcome you guys to the first row. Today is Wednesday, and if it is Wednesday, you should know what that means. It is time for the Wednesday word. That's Wednesday word. Jumping straight into it. Tonight's topic is facing failures. That was a failure to launch right there, but we're still going to jump into this tonight. As always, with the Wednesday word, I like to share what I mean by my topic. So, what do I mean by the topic of facing failures? Really, facing failures is about understanding and being patient with yourself, knowing that in life you're going to make mistakes. And because you're going to make mistakes, if you're going to make them, the best thing you can absolutely do is to learn from those mistakes. So facing failure is about really taking your hands away from your eyes, seeing your failures for what they are so that you can learn from them and thrive after them. So tonight I got 3 tools for you for the first row, tools that kind of help me when it comes to dealing with facing my own failures. And as always, I got a story that I want to share with you guys at the end. So jumping straight into it, the very first tool when it comes to facing failures that I thought about bringing, or I didn't think about bringing, I felt was the most important tool, was about talking about your failures. And the reason that is important is because I find when we typically have a what I'm going to call a fail cycle where we continually and repetitively fail at the same stage and in the same thing, it's because we're trying to hide the fact that we have failed in the first place. So what we do is instead of talking about them and trying to vent them, we actually just clam up and hold on to that failure and say, "Ooh, I don't want anybody to know that I failed like that. I don't want anybody to know my secret." So we hold that secret to ourselves. Unfortunately, in holding it to ourselves, we somewhat kind of bury it within ourselves as well. And we don't take the lesson that we need to take from it in order to prevent and avoid the failure, the same exact failure in the future. So the very first tool being talk about your failures. Obviously, you want to talk to people who you have a strong relationship with, people that you know are not going to necessarily judge you for your failures, but be open and honest with your close-knit circle, with your tribe. So that way you can do a couple of different things. Talking will, number one, allow you to ventilate that pressure and keep you from having that fear that will kind of paralyze you because you don't know if people have figured out your failure. So it'll keep you in a space where you're properly ventilated and you're not burdened down or hunkered down or weighed down, not burdened down, weighed down by the fact that you're afraid that this failure is going to come to the surface. The second thing that it does is it actually, in the best case scenario, it produces an opportunity for people who have also experienced the same failure, because failure is not always unique to us, or a type of failure that you may be experiencing may not be necessarily unique to you. So venting it to people who are trustworthy confidants or mentors or people that you can go to, venting it to them may also yield a solution, something that they've come across that worked for them. Now, just because it has worked for them doesn't mean it will necessarily work for you. However, the fact that it has potentially, at least that solution has worked in against that failure or with that failure, it is at least a potential that it will or can work for you. Maybe you might have to tweak it a little bit. The other thing that it does is, even if somebody can't yield necessarily the overall solution, and a lot of my friends know that I am a solution-oriented person. Like, what's the solution? I get frustrated, don't get me wrong. I have failures. I have blocks where I just want to focus on the problem. I have times where I'm like that, but I always try to come back to a space of being focused on what is the solution. The problem will define and identify itself and continue to bring itself up so long as you don't have a solution. So also venting and talking to your friends or talking about your failures can yield support. Though they may not have the solution, they may have the support that you need to help get you through that difficult time, maybe where your own self-esteem or self-confidence is a little battered because of the fact that you have experienced failure. So that's tool number one. Talk about your failures, be open and honest about them so that you're not holding these secrets that you have fear or that cause you to have fear for moving forward. And trying again. Tool number two is a very interesting tool because it's about success and not failure, but it's beware of success stagnation. And a part of facing failure is understanding that it's going to happen. If you're trying to grow, if you are trying to get outside of your comfort zone or think outside of the box to do new and innovative things, not even just for the world, but just for your life, anything that you have not done to date, when you go to try to do it for the first time, that is you innovating in your own life or in your own space. So anytime you get ready to go and do those types of things, there is a risk that there will be a failure that takes place. Maybe you didn't plan something accurately. Maybe you don't have enough time. Maybe you don't have enough money. Maybe you don't have enough influence. Whatever it may be, you might experience a failure because you're stretching yourself to an unknown space or an unknown place of growth. So because of that, this tool of beware of success stagnation, what that is when you are not experiencing any failure. I'm not saying go out and look for as much failure as you can find. However, if you go out and look for as much failure as you can find and you truly learn from all that failure, you'll be a much wiser person than a person who just got it right off the bat every single time. But that success stagnation takes place when we're not stretching ourselves. So we only want to do the things that are simple. We only want to do the things that we are good at, but we don't want to do any things that are unknown or things that are a little more difficult that risk us not having success. A really good example of this is I'm not really the best basketball player. I'm okay saying that. I'm not the best basketball player, but I do enjoy playing basketball. So one of the things that I had to do in order to get better at basketball is take shots. I used to have such a lack of confidence in my ability to shoot the ball that I just wouldn't shoot the ball at all. And so now I'll shoot the ball a lot more. Some days I can't miss. Some days I can't hit the rim. It's just it comes and it goes. But what I'm always doing, and every single time when I'm missing shots or when I have one of those days where it's off, I'll sit at the free throw line and I'll shoot about 5 to 10 shots, and I'll pay attention to what my body is doing. There's actually times where I will take the ball and I'll put my head down and I'll close my eyes after I know where the rim's at, and I will simply just focus on the form of my shot. Why? Because if I can get the form of my shot down, eventually the success will be that I'll be able to shoot better shots, better quality shots. I'll be able to go on a fast break and shoot the layup and not worry about, oh shoot, is that going to go in? All of that has to do with me being willing to fail every time I get on the basketball court. And then not only being willing to fail, not that I always fail, but not only being willing to fail, but also being willing to take the lessons from the failure and try to apply them again. See, that success stagnation says, okay, this is what was successful. This is the only thing you do. I can tell you, I am an amazing defensive player when it comes to basketball because I enjoy that part. I actually enjoy that part probably more than I enjoy offense, but I enjoyed that part of the game. So I could easily just be successful in playing defense. I can get defensive skills. I can get blocks. I can, get people to get off their shots and miss shots and then kick the ball to somebody who wants to play offense. I could do that, but that would be success stagnation, where I am playing basketball. However, I'm not putting myself in uncomfortable, unfamiliar, or just positions that I'm not really that great at playing offense. And so that is one of the tools that was really important to me, was beware of that success stagnation, because really failure is like the fertilizer for additional and future success. So if you're not going to have enough fertilizer, you might be able to get through this season. And if you're absolutely lucky, you'll get through the next season. However, the following season, when all the nutrients from the fertilizer is gone, all the moisture from the fertilizer has been taken up, you'll find yourself struggling to achieve even the same success that you had without working in the areas of failure. So that's tool number 2. Beware of success stagnation. If your success is stagnant and everything seems to be easy, find out where you can stretch yourself next to help yourself continually grow. And then finally, tool number 3, and it's the final tool in regards to facing your failures. I almost want to say facing your fears, but facing your failures is it's okay to fail. And I think if I tie it into the other 2 to talk about failures, to beware of success stagnation, really that's what it is it's okay to fail. It is okay to give yourself permission to take a risk that may not work out, and it can fail. I don't care if that's in a relationship. I don't care if that's in an investment. I don't care if that's in a profession. I don't care if that's in singing karaoke. It is okay to take a risk and to fail. Give yourself permission beforehand that if things don't work out and you happen to fail at whatever you're trying to do that's new, give yourself permission to be able to say, you know what, that didn't work out the way that I planned at all. But it's okay that it didn't work out the way that it planned. And to continue, I'm not going to allow that to stop me from trying again. That's when they say you've truly actually failed. You've truly failed when you quit and you refuse to get back up and try again. See, success is easy to put into the limelight. It's easy to face success. It's easy to stand in front of a computer screen or a camera and say, here's all the things that I've done right today. What's a lot more difficult is to be equally transparent and equally accountable to the fact that here's the things that I've done wrong, and that I didn't get right. Hey, Tabitha, good to see you. And then also the other aspect of it's okay to fail is sometimes I believe that we think our failures, like even our greatest failure, is this super big thing. I remember I went through something in my life very early in life, and I remember thinking like, dang, this is the end. I'm not going to be able to make income. I'm not going to be able to take care of my kid. I'm not going to be able to take care of myself. I remember thinking all these things because the failure was so big, but really it was the embarrassment. And the embarrassment made the failure seem bigger than it was. However, fortunately, I was able to get past the embarrassment and get to a place where I could talk openly and publicly about the challenges that I was failing at. And that is what actually spurred growth, because it held me accountable to say, hey, look, you're saying you're about inspiration. Hey, look, you're saying you care about this, you care about that. Then you got to make sure that your actions line up with that. And that doesn't mean that there's days where your actions won't fail and they won't seem to align with what you say is important to you. However, it's your responsibility to get back up, get in there, and fail again if you have to. So those are the 3 tools that I have for you tonight. Really quickly to go over them again. The very first tool is talk about your failures. Be open, be honest, get some air in those things so that there can be some discussion around them and hopefully some solutions and or support and or solutions generated with those conversations that you'll have. Number 2 is beware of success stagnation. Really quick, success stagnation assessment, putting that on my to-do list. That's what Tabitha Smith says. I love you, Tapstar. But beware of success stagnation. That's tool number 2. And really, if things are so easy for you, I promise you, there's some area in your life that you can find that'll be a little more challenging. I don't care if it's going back to school. I don't care if it's reading a book about a topic that you know zero about. There's always an opportunity to stretch yourself to grow. And there's always an opportunity to risk failure. Even sometimes when things are easy, we still end up failing at them. And then tool number 3 is it's okay to fail. Give yourself permission to take the risks that may lead to you failing, that may lead to you not being successful, but realize it's you not being successful on this attempt, not necessarily the next attempt, and not necessarily every attempt. So those are the 3 tools that I have for you. As always, I love you guys being on the Wednesday Word with me live. I appreciate you guys rocking with me. I think we've been doing this. Today is the 18th. This is the 1 year, it was going to sound funny, but the 1 year anniversary from Wednesday Word, I believe, being on YouTube, if I remember from my Facebook memory. This is the 1 year anniversary of it being on YouTube and every week. So that's 52 Wednesday Words. I like that. But as always, with every Wednesday Word, I like to share a personal story, something that kind of got me thinking about this topic a little more in depth. And, again, this is where we're going to have this air out the failure talk, because this is not a story where I've gotten it right, but it is something that I constantly remind myself about, so that way I can try to get it right the next time. And so this story is about when my family was living in Southern California. When my family was living in Southern California, right before they moved back, our oldest son ended up in the hospital. And so I went to this hospital, stayed with him for 5 days. Hey, that was a win. I did a good job there. But stayed with him for 5 days. And then we all moved back to Northern California because they were living in Southern California. And so we get back to Northern California, and I think at this time, I'm not working two jobs. I was only working one job at this time. But I remember being tired from being in the hospital for 5 days, then having to move everything back to Northern California. And within like 2 days of being back, my son's mother comes to me and she's like, "Hey, Z hasn't gone to the bathroom in 2 days, like since he left the hospital." And I'm like, "What do you mean he hasn't gone to the bathroom in this period of time? Because that sounds impossible." And so me, instead of being the growth inspired, rational, logical person, I'm irritated. And I'm irritated because I'm tired. It's not anything to do with my son not going to the bathroom. It's not anything to do with somebody telling me this, but I'm tired. I just want to go to sleep. However, now I have to get up and we have to go to the emergency room. And I am pissed. I'm like yelling and screaming. I'm yelling at my son, this, that, and the other. And I think even at one point, my mother had came up because I was living with my mother at the time. She comes up and she's like trying to tell me something. And I'm like, if you're going to try to tell me how to be a father to my kids, then we're going to have problems. And it was bad. It was really bad. And that wasn't even the worst part of it. The worst part of it and the failure part of it for me was when I looked at my son, and because I was so pissed off and I was so irritated about the situation, which had really nothing to do with him. This was just a little boy. I think he was in fifth grade or sixth grade at the time. And I'm like, I hope, and let me prerequisite this. My son has a fear of needles. My oldest son has a fear of needles. So I'm like, I hope you have to get a catheter since you don't want to go to the bathroom. And I mean, I'm going in over somebody not being able to go to the bathroom. I think if we all take a step back and look, anybody who has to go to the bathroom would prefer to go to the bathroom and not go to the bathroom. So I'm looking at this experience, and when I'm thinking about facing failures, this is a failure that I face regularly because I can be temperamental at times. And they say when you're a temperamental person, you tend to jump, we're going to call it jump bad. You tend to fly off the handle with the people that you're closest with and that you love the most, which is asinine and backwards, but it's what you tend to do. And so I look at this failure, and I wanted to share this particular story because, in my opinion, this is an area of fatherhood that I had gotten completely and utterly wrong. Completely and utterly wrong. However, I'm still willing to face that failure today, and I'm still willing to open my mouth and have conversations with my son today. I didn't take that failure and say, "Oh shoot, I just made a horrible failure that was so bad that I'm going to keep my mouth shut for the remainder of this parenthood relationship," and then say, "Oh, fatherhood's really important to me, but I'm not going to be willing to risk failure in it. I only want to be perfect or successful at fatherhood, and I'm not willing to risk failure." So I really wanted to share that story with you because, number one, it's something that really deeply has stuck with me deeply. And I constantly am reminded and think about it, not because I'm constantly flying off the handles anymore, but I'm putting myself in positions that are like, okay, do you remember when you flew off the handle about this? You might fly off the handle again, but I don't want you to fly off that far. And I'm constantly working to taper myself back to where I can speak rationally. One of the things that I did last year was really worked on making a commitment of, when I'm irritated and I'm frustrated and I'm talking to my son, not to cuss at him. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to cuss, but that does mean that I have to not cuss at him. And it is a struggle because I don't know if you have any teenage kids, they can push you to the brink. However, the responsibility is not on the child for the adult to grow. The responsibility is on the adult to grow. So that is what I wanted to share with you guys today. I hope you guys have enjoyed the Wednesday Word. Get out there and face some failures. Take some risks. And if you're successful 24/7 every single day, then get out of that box and start trying something new. So that's what I got for you guys today. Thank you guys for tuning in live. I appreciate you guys bearing with me in the beginning when I couldn't hear if the sound was going or not, but I'm glad that the sound is up and running. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. The next time you will see me live on the first row will be next Wednesday for the Wednesday Word, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you have any topics that you would like for us to discuss, or like for myself to bring up or discuss on the Wednesday Word, please send an email to topics@firstrow.com. That's topics@1st WROE.com. Other than that, thank you guys for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you guys on the first row next week. Until then, one love, peace, and God bless.